Good afternoon and welcome to the noon meeting of Kiwanis. Be led in prayer by Carrie Chopin and the song and pledge by Gerald Gilbo.
The Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this opportunity to be here today. We thank you for the gift of this Kiwanis Club, and we thank you for the responsibility of stewardship. We ask that you bless these candidates in their race. We ask that you give them a heart of service and help them be wise and thoughtful in all of their decision making. We make this prayer, Lord, in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go Saints!
Before we begin the candidate forum, I just wanted to do our usual announcements. I don't want to take too much time from the candidates, so I want to be brief with our announcements. And so usually we welcome guests, so I want to thank everyone that brought a guest today. We don't have time to welcome everyone, but we want to make sure you're all welcome. Celebrating birthday this week, it's actually today. Evan, email. Evan, you here? Who is it? Evan's not here. Happy birthday to Evan. Must be present to win, exactly. Celebrating Kiwanis anniversary today, September 10, 1996. Bob Lejeune, 23 years in the club. C.M. Robinson also today, but he was a Kiwanian for 12 years, first being inducted in 2007. And this week, John Girardi, September 13th, 2011, so 8 years in the club. Happy anniversary, John. Our final board meeting of the year is going to be September 17th, so remember there is no regular meeting next week on Tuesday. Board will take its place because our installation banquet is Thursday the 19th. So if you haven't given us the RSVP, please do so. And even if, because we'd like to get a strong head count by today, even if you don't, we do please come, because I'd rather have you here and not know that you're coming than you not come. So, but please email Jason or myself so that, by today, so that we can have a good head count to bring to Petroleum Club. So let's begin. We welcome our guests here at the Petroleum Club, and those of you who are watching this broadcast on AOC to the Kiwanis Club of Lafayette. First off, I'd like to share a bit about our club to those of you who are not familiar with Kiwanis. For 75 years, Kiwanis of Lafayette has served the children of Acadiana in a variety of ways. Among the ways we do this is by sponsoring key clubs at Lafayette High, Como, and now Southside High School. Lafayette Kiwanis' signature project has been to host the annual Kiwanis Football Jamboree. We've now completed our 68th edition of the Jamboree, and again, it's just successful, and we are proud to present some of the finest football in the state. A dozen area high school teams, and we think without question it's the premier event in the state. Lafayette Kiwanis constructed Park Independence at Girard Park, which is Acadiana's first fully accessible handicap playground. We've installed buddy benches at all Parish elementary schools, and for more than 40 years, it's been our tradition every Christmas to bring children less fortunate a Christmas through Operation Magi. So all of these things are possible through our fundraising efforts with the Jamboree. Kids need Kiwanis, but Kiwanis needs you. If you're interested in membership, we ask that you visit our website, www.lafayettekiwanis.org, or our Facebook page. We'd love to grow beyond the 101 members we have here today. Kiwanis Lafayette is guided by the 6 objectives of Kiwanis as set forth by Kiwanis International. The sixth object of Kiwanis is to cooperate in creating and maintaining that sound public opinion and high idealism which makes possible the increase of righteousness, justice, patriotism, and goodwill. Today's Mayor President Candidate Forum fits squarely in line with that object. So our moderator for this panel discussion is Dr. Parish. He is the Associate Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Associate Professor at the Department of Political Science at the University of Louisiana. His principal areas of teaching are state and local politics and Southern and Louisiana politics. He is a frequent commentator on political issues at the national, state, and local level, and he hosts a weekly radio program, Bayou to the Beltway, in which he interviews Acadiana's most influential officials and newsmakers. So at this time, I'd like to turn the program over to our moderator. So I ask that you please give him a warm Kiwanis welcome, Dr. Pearson Cross.
Thanks, Don. Appreciate that. I always am happy to be back here and with Kiwanis and see you all again. And I know that you are an astute political audience, so I know hopefully we will get the questions answered, your questions answered. In the meantime, we'd like to thank Kiwanis for hosting this and providing an opportunity for these candidates to tell you what they think about what's going on and what solutions they have. We're going to start off with, let me talk about the ground rules just for a second. First of all, the candidates were not given the questions in advance, so lest you be hasty to judge, imagine yourself sitting here answering these questions. Please note no applause, that'll just slow us down a little bit, and then I don't see anybody's going to hold up a sign, so I'm not going to worry about that. They drew to find out the seating order. The seating order will stay essentially the same, but will be rotating. So after closing statements, the first question will go to Carly, and then the next question will go to Josh, and so on down the road. So we'll have that rotation there. Each candidate has 1 minute to respond to each question. If a candidate is directly challenged during another candidate's response, you mentioned the other candidate by name, that candidate will have 30 seconds for a rebuttal. If time allows, the one round of questioning will be a lightning round. If we still have more time, which I kind of doubt, then maybe we take some questions for the audience or something like that. Our timekeeper is Ian Ozan right there, and so panelists, if you would look at Ian. And then we'll have a closing statement of 1 minute from each of the candidates. So let's start off with the, is everyone clear on the rules for today? Perfect, thanks. And you all have a mic, and you're going to have to share. I'm sorry, I'm not going to share mine. You'll make it work. It doesn't sound like it's on. There we go.
You guys can hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to use mine? Mine's a little louder.
Is that better? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and I'll just talk loud. Okay. All right, so let's start off with opening statement. First opening statement, Ms. Carly Almavo.
Good afternoon, everybody. I first want to thank the Kiwanis Club, obviously the Petroleum Club and AOC, and all of you guys for coming out today and hosting this great forum. And of course, my fellow candidates, this is our third forum, and we've had two great ones, so I expect today to be no different. I'm going to start with a story. I did a Young Professionals fundraiser last week, and the first question I asked the folks who attended were if they knew someone, a close friend, who had left Lafayette in the last 4 years. And the entire room, with the exception of 1 or 2 people, raised their hand. And that's why I'm running. I am running because we've lost jobs in the tens of thousands, and we've had thousands of homes flooded. And I bring both the passion, the education, and the experience to execute in government, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Josh Guillory is next.
Well, thank you also to the Kiwanis Club. Thank you to my fellow candidates. Thank you to Dr. Cross. And really, not only thank you for this forum, but also thank you for what you do in our community. Without organizations such as yourself, our community wouldn't be as great as it is. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. This is my community. I love it. I live here with my wife and children here in Lafayette. I'm a small business owner. For many years, I did what I love to do, and I see a couple parents out there that I had the fortune to coach your son in football, middle school football, and it just reminds me of all that is good in our community. We can. Carly mentioned something that I thought was beautifully said, and I know I only have 15 seconds left, but this out-migration, we can fix that. It's all about getting our priorities in order. We're going to talk a lot about that today. So drainage, fixing our roads and traffic, bringing jobs back and keeping us safe, that's the priorities, and that's what I will fight for, and I'd love to have your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guillory. And next we hear from Ms. Nancy Markup.
Thank you, and I also want to thank everybody, the Kiwanis, our fellow runners, Mr. Pearson, Cross, and everyone for being here. I've been a lifelong Republican and a pro-life mother and a job-creating entrepreneur. I've never run for politics before, but I know how to attract high-paying jobs and to bring jobs back to this community. So what's gonna matter is more about what I can do than what I can say. I've developed the priorities that need to be addressed, and I'll call them the Marcotte priorities, and that's build infrastructure that includes drainage and roads, restore trust in government, and I plan on doing that by improving the transparency of government and the communications and empower entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marcotte. Our next candidate, Ms. Simone Champagne.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Simone Champagne. I live in the city of Youngsville. I'm a banker by heart in education, 26 years in the private sector. I was very fortunate to go into government in 2003 as an administrator for parish government. Then I had the unique opportunity in 2007 to run for a term limited seat, which I won and served 2 terms in the state legislature. My priorities and my goals are to drive us back to the basics of government and do what's expected of us and exactly what we expect when the taxpayers pay their taxes. So I want to go back to the basics of government, do what we need to do, which will fix our economy, in my opinion, and do it all with common sense and no new taxes. Thank you. I'm Simone Champagne. I'd appreciate your support.
Thank you, Ms. Champagne. Mr. Carlos Farben.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with Kiwanis. I took a little walk down memory lane because I went back to my high school days and remembered I was in the Key Club at the time back in 1977, something like that. But I want to thank you for the great work that you do in our community. Your commitment to the youth of Lafayette Parish is dear and near to my heart. I worked for a while with the Boy Scouts of America, Evangeline Area Council, and in that program, we're teaching young men values. And now I'm pleased to say girls are able to join in Scouts of America as well. The movie Lion King, Mustafa is walking with his son, and he says in the life of every leader, there's a sunrise and a sunset. As your mayor president, I realize that we're going to have to pass the baton to the youth, our children, and we want to leave this parish better than when we found it.
Thank you, Mr. Harmon. All right, we move on to our very first question. First question to Ms. Carley. Although most areas of Acadiana were not badly hurt by Hurricane Barry, it certainly reminded us all of the threat that remains. It made drainage and storm preparation perhaps the #1 issue in the parish. What is your plan to help Lafayette Parish, City and Parish prepare for the next big storm, flood, or disaster?
Thank you for that question. First and foremost, I think that the public safety officials who prepared for Hurricane Barry should be commended. From all reports, that was one of the best prepared storms that we as a community have ever faced. But there's no doubt in my opening statement, I mentioned that drainage is one of the things that drove me to run. And we need a coordinated and comprehensive strategy to address drainage in a very active and aggressive way. And I knew it before I started campaigning, but there's no doubt when you're out talking to people, the panic and the urgency that they feel when they're talking about the fear of rain and they're talking about their kids picking up toys off the ground. So we have to start with coordination among parishes, coordination with our federal and state officials to position ourselves to draw down federal funds, to do specific strategies to mitigate flood risk, And then we have to work all the way down to the very local level and asking our citizens what they're doing to help improve drainage as well.
Thank you, Ms. Amlabar. Mr. Guillory?
Thank you. The number one issue, and all of us should say this, is drainage. Drainage is the number one issue. Now, in preparation for storms such as Hurricane Barry, we did see a lot of proactive measures from the private sector and the public sector. Turning off the pumps at the Tesh Vermilion Freshwater District, right off that throws water from the Atchafalaya River, goes through a lot of drainage canals into the the Vermilion River. Doing things like that in advance of these storms would help. But we do have to take a comprehensive approach. I agree with Carly 100%. It's not just a Lafayette issue, it is a regional issue. So working with other parish presidents, working with other municipalities, working with the municipalities within our parish to make sure that we're looking at this from a watershed standpoint is the key. We can't answer this in 1 minute, but certain things that we can do, cleaning the coulees, cleaning the laterals, adding detention ponds, putting proper drainage analysis in the permitting processing, working with the private sector in development. These are things that we can do, and I wish we had way more than 1 minute to answer this.
Thank you, Mr. Guillory. Okay, Ms. Marcotte?
Thank you. First of all, we have friends, families, and neighbors whose homes are flooding, and nobody likes to see that. None of us up here like to see it, nobody likes to see it. I believe that we need to dredge the Vermilion as the city council approved money and move some money for us to do so. But after that's done, and right away, we need to clean out the coulees and ditches, and we need to set up a regional plan so that we can partner with the people in our watershed area, the other leaders, the parish presidents in the 9 parish area of our watershed, to partner with them and set up a system. We do not have a system for dealing with this that everybody follows so that there is as little flooding as possible. And that's my stand.
Thank you. Ms. Champlain?
Thank you. Unfortunately, in 2016, we had 600 homes that flooded in the city of Youngsville. We have 4,000 that flooded throughout Lafayette Parish. There are things we can do immediately on January 1st, which we will do with our Public Works Department and our cooperation and coordination with our municipalities. We have not seen that happen here. We're gonna start by cleaning our laterals, our roadside ditches, our laterals, our coulees, which is a parish responsibility. Well, the whole time, we're gonna continue working on those regional efforts and bring in every parish that surrounds us, that affects us, that we affect downstream. We're gonna bring them in, have a task force, and we already have a Lafayette Parish comprehensive drainage plan. A lot of people don't know that. So I don't agree with studies, more studies. We're gonna take that plan, we're gonna take it and run with it on January 1st. And we're gonna continue seeking federal funding for the larger issues.
Thank you, Ms. Champlain. Mr. Harvin?
Drainage is my number one issue, and as mayor president, I'm very happy that Mayor Robideau and our current city parish council came to an agreement to allocate $43 million in the new budget to continue the great work of drainage that needs to be fixed. Our coulees continue to need to be cleaned, our culverts, and I'm so glad that we can go on the LCG website. We can see in real time that all of those drainage improvement projects are on budget and they are on time. We do have an issue that we do need to face. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers study, I think, is on target. The Acadiana Planning Commission, I think, has hit the nail on the head that the last time that the Vermilion was dredged was 2 years before I was born, 1957. So there's certain parts of that river that are only 2 feet deep. So even if we get the coulees clean, we're getting water into a river that's going to flood. We've got to dredge that Vermilion so that we can get that water out to the Gulf and make flooding an issue of the past.
Thank you, Mr. Harvin. That concludes question 1. We're going to move on to question 2. It goes to Mr. Guillory. Mr. Guillory, as mayor president, you'll be called to bridge the gap between parish and city. What is the nature of the split or gap in your view? Can parish and city work together, or as evidenced by some of the recent splits in voting for renewals and other items, are parish and city going their own directions?
we have no other option than to work together. We have no other option. This is the government that we have, and I know there are some people in this audience that may not have voted for the new charter amendments. Maybe you did. Regardless, I'm going to ask you as your fellow neighbor, and I've gone on the record on my position on that, but I'm going to ask you as your neighbor to accept this government, change what's going to be wrong with it, and have this voice of communication. But the way that we approach this potential conflict of interest is pure and absolute transparency. The left hand has to know what the right hand is doing. Think about it. We're going to have a city council, we're going to have a parish council, and we're going to have one mayor president. That's very unique. I'm a family law attorney. I can't walk into court and represent the mom and the dad. It's a conflict of interest. But this is the government that we have. We're going to make it happen. We're going to make it work. And we're going to make it work with full and complete and unapologetic transparency and communication. And I'm ready to lead this government on day one.
Thank you, Mr. Guillory. Ms. Marcotte?
Thank you. I also agree with Josh, unfortunately. I know. But I realize that we have to work with the government that we're handed. And we are handed a city and a parish council, divided. But my way of doing things is to have them come together once a month and meet and make decisions together. Because some of the things that need to be decided, the monies that need to be decided on, need to be decided together. And that's what I want to see happen. So many times as a broker, I have to deal with two people in the same office, and we always come out with a win-win situation. And that's what I plan on doing, a win-win situation.
Thank you, Ms. Marcotte. Ms. Champagne?
Thank you. No doubt it will be very challenging for any mayor, president, and the new council, city and parish, to learn their way. As a leader, however, that is what we're called upon, is to guide that effort. I truly believe with myself as mayor president and the council that we're going to get in place, we will work together, because we know no matter what, at the end of the day, we are here to benefit you, our taxpayers. I also want everyone to be very comfortable. I will never support, endorse, or offer something to be on the ballot as strong as this on an off cycle. I think all tax renewals, issues that face every one of you, should be on major elections. So I will not put any initiatives such as a charter fix on a low ballot turnout.
Thank you, Ms. Champagne. Mr. Harbin?
We're at a very unique moment in our parish's history where we have a new mayor president coming in. We also have a new 5-member city council, a new 5-member parish council. This is an opportunity for us to work together, because we know that teamwork makes the dream work. We may have gotten here by different ships. We're in the same boat now. And if we look at the city budget, we're looking at between $600 to $700 million that we're going to have some pretty good sources of revenue. But when we look at the parish budget, and after all of the dedicated funds are allocated, they're going to have a little less than $100,000 to spend. So we're going to have to look out for the unincorporated areas of Lafayette Parish, as well as those jurisdictions that have mayors and city councils as well. We're going to have to figure out how we can work all together as a team so that we all benefit together.
Thank you, Mr. Harbin. Ms. Amlabar?
All right, so couple things. Number one, I have a track record of bringing people together, and there is no doubt that there is going to require a great deal of coordination in working with the new parish council and the city council. Within the first week, I plan on having a joint meeting of the city council chair and the parish council chair to begin to work on coordination issues. Many of you know I was involved in the Fix the Charter amendment package and have drafted many things related to the transition and how we can ensure a very smooth transition process, and have shared that with some officials to assist in the process now. I think the thing that we have to understand when we talk about parish government and whether or not there will be a divide is the parish government has core parish responsibilities. And I will be responsible for working with the parish governing officials to focus on those, things like drainage in our judicial system. The city government has the same issue. As the mayor president, I will work with the city council on issues such as LUS, police pay, and other city core services.
Thank you, Ms. Amlabar. The next question goes first to Ms. Nancy Marcotte. Here's the question. Apart from drainage and dredging, what is the biggest problem city and parish government have to grapple with? Where are we falling behind? What ideas do you have to solve these problems?
Thank you. I feel like we are falling behind on offering jobs and high-paying middle-class jobs to people. There's so many small businesses that are closing and even large businesses that are closing because the people can't put food on their tables and roofs over their heads. They can't afford to go out to eat. They can't afford to buy artwork. They can't afford to go to a concert to hear somebody play music, beautiful music. There's so many issues that to go over them in this short amount of time is really hard. But one of the issues that keeps businesses away is the Unified Development Code and the Plan Lafayette. And I think we need to simplify and cut red tape so that we can bring jobs into Lafayette, high-paying jobs.
Thank you, and next turn to Ms. Champagne.
Thank you. I think that we don't do a very good job in government of taking care of the basics of what the taxpayers, as yourselves, pay taxes for. I believe that our economy is slipping for several reasons, mostly because we did lose the oil and gas industry. However, we did diversify quite nicely, I think, into the healthcare sector. A lot of people in this room, however, don't realize that there are no more sewer capacity around University and Lafayette General right here. Without sewer capacity, guess what? We can't encourage new people to come into our business, into our neighborhoods, into our parish. So we need to take care of those basics. Drainage, infrastructure, which I consider roads, sewer, water, also public safety, which I consider police and fire. And I feel that once we take care of those issues and use your tax dollars right for that, we will see our economy come back. So I believe there are several things affecting us.
Thank you, Ms. Champagne. Mr. Harvin.
On that first Monday in October, my first priority as mayor president will be to pursue the second plank in my platform. That's community economic development. I come from a part of the city where the nickname of the neighborhood is called Wine Alley. And a landmark is right behind the Walmart that just closed on Evangeline Thruway. That's across the street from the Albertsons that closed before that. And it's down the street from the Taco Bell that closed, and it's around the corner from the Kentucky Fried Chicken that closed, and it's down the street from the Convention Visitors Bureau that closed. I'm in a part of town where everything is closing. And I'm running for mayor president to serve the whole parish, but to send the message that all of Lafayette Parish, including the north side, is open for business. We need 10,000 new residents to move onto the north side. We need jobs. We need businesses to open. We need to improve the income earning potential so that we can reduce crime and that we can push for economic prosperity into every corner of Lafayette Parish.
Thank you, Mr. Harvin. Ms. Amlabar.
So there's no doubt, I started and I said drainage and economic development, and there's no doubt that our local economy is one of the biggest challenges that we are all facing. We see that very acutely in our oil and gas sector, which is still not recovered. We see it very acutely in the north side that Pastor Harvin was talking about, but we also see it in other ways in the restaurants and things like that we've also talked about today. As your mayor president, I understand that it is both my job at what I would call a bully pulpit level to make sure I am advocating on behalf of Lafayette. We are in a struggle against other communities. We have a regional economy and we fight with other regions for jobs. And so I have to be your leader across the country in bringing jobs here. But then we also have to make sure on a very local level, inside our policies and our regulatory environment, are business friendly and that we're working across departments to make Lafayette a great place to do business so that we can bring jobs back.
Thank you. Mr. Guillory?
One of the biggest issues that we have in local government is that our priorities are all out of whack. Government should not be overcomplicated. Think about it. If we fix our infrastructure, we fix drainage, number one issue, fix our roads and traffic, and we keep our communities safe. Think about that. If we do that, everything else will fall into place. Now we have to pay for that though. And the way we don't pay for it is raising taxes. We don't need another millage. We don't need to increase taxes. What we need to do, I agree with Nancy, we need to bring jobs back. And the way that we do that is we make Lafayette inviting. And again, I agree with Nancy. See, I'm paid the last forum. It's a running joke that we have, but I agree with Nancy on this. Two things, the UDC and Plan Lafayette, we have to revisit that. It is not inviting to businesses. We need jobs back here to increase the revenue in our budget, not by raising taxes. Let's get our priorities in order, and our priorities will be in order on day one as I serve as your mayor president.
We must have been reading Mr. Guillory's mind when we put these questions together. The next question, and this question goes to Ms. Champagne. Does either the city or the parish need more revenue to address current or future needs in a strongly anti-tax environment? How do you sell the message that the parish or the city needs more money?
Well, that answer won't take me a minute because I'm gonna tell you no. I believe that we have enough revenues, and I'm gonna prove that we have enough revenues. What we're gonna do is, from day one, we're gonna start with the zero-based budgeting. Yes, it will work. We will have to do exactly what we do in our homes and our businesses every day of the week. Set our priorities, make sure we pay what we have to pay for first. In our homes, you may have a mortgage, you may have a car note. In government, you have bond issues, you have employees to pay. So we're gonna drive it the same way, common sense. So by starting with a zero-based budget and looking at every contract, I am gonna look at every contract we have in this city and make sure that the people that have them are accountable and the people behind them are accountable. So I do believe that my first 30 days will be consumed with making sure that we have the revenue, because I am not coming back to you for more revenue. We're gonna have to live within our means like you and I do every day.
Thank you, Ms. Champagne. Mr. Harden?
Yes, we do need more revenue. As a financial advisor, one thing I've learned in my training, that price is an issue in the absence of value. Something's important, people don't mind, and we can look at the Lafayette Regional Airport. There was a referendum put on the ballot that passed unanimously, put to the voters, to expand a new terminal, new parking, bring retail, so that we can land more aircraft at a major, at an airport in an area that is growing in business. If people trust, and this is a moment we need to rebuild trust that people have lost in their government. That if we know that this is going to improve the quality of life for everyone, that's something that we're gonna have to earn that, and we're gonna have to make an investment. We're gonna have to pay a price. There's some, I think, creative ways that we can do that. But I think with the approval and the agreement of the voters, along with our city council, we're gonna have to look at some creative ways to come up with it.
Ms. Almavar?
We don't need more revenue, but we do have a great deal of work to do when it comes to both of our budgets. And many of you may know that the city budget and the parish budget have never been consolidated. Those books have always been separated. So on the city side, we don't have an issue. We just budgeted, as Pastor Harvin said, $43 million to spend on drainage, and we have not selected those projects yet. We have a lot of work to do to prioritize to make sure those monies are spent as effectively as possible and not by politics, but we have work to do there. On the parish side, we have a different story. We have to settle from the recent split and make sure that we're focusing on core parish responsibilities. Some of you may know at the last audit, we had a fund balance in the parish general fund of $7,000. So I will be working with the parish council to make sure we focus those energies on core parish services.
Thank you, Mr. Guillory.
The experts that I'm talking to, and I know we're all meeting with different groups, whether it's hydrologists, civil engineers, or any other aspect of, or any other priority that we're talking about tonight or today, they do tell me that we do need more money. I'm telling you how I'm gonna go get it. One is bringing jobs back. That might not be enough. I'm being honest with you. That may not be enough. So where do we go? Well, the issues that we're talking about, it's not a Lafayette issue. I agree with Carl, it's not a Lafayette issue, it's a regional issue. So I will rely on our representatives in Baton Rouge, and I'll beat every street, every door in Baton Rouge if I have to get the extra resources that we need. I mean, I will go to the moon and back for you and for us. This is my community. I have 3 children. I have a wife. I have a business here. I love this community, and I will fight for it. If Baton Rouge is not enough, I'll call on our congressmen. I'll call on our senators. I'll go to Washington myself. I will go to under every rock on this planet to find the resources we need. But what I won't do is come to you for more money out of your pocketbooks. I will not support an increase in taxes.
Thank you. Ms. Marco?
Thank you. I also do not support an increase in taxes. I want to grow the tax base by bringing back jobs. I want to grow the tax base by people spending money, having the extra money to spend to buy things, to increase the sales tax, to increase the homeowner's tax. Every aspect of revenue that we get, it's there. We just need to grow it. And we also need to quit overspending on studies and delays and things that cost this city, you, the taxpayers, money. That's what I want to do. And I am a business person, and I have a record of success, and I can do what you need.
Thank you. Next question. This question goes to Mr. Harvin first. With the oil and gas down, the struggle is to reinvigorate the economy and diversify. What ideas do you have for bringing good jobs to Lafayette and building on strengths that we already have? Please be specific.
Dr. Cross, an excellent question. I recently attended a meeting of COG, the Council of Governments, and 6 of the mayors of our surrounding cities were there with representatives from Lafayette. Mr. Greg Gautreaux from LEDA, the Lafayette Economic Development Authority, gave a great glowing report for retail sales tax that is growing. And he said that there's 4 pillars. I think we need to pursue. We can see if we put all of our eggs in one basket, how quickly that can hurt our economy. Those 4 pillars are medical, energy, some alternative forms of energy, entertainment, the arts and culture, and technology. We can begin while we look at oil and gas to continue bringing revenue in. There are 4 other areas that we can pursue that will create jobs. I just know with the recent storm, Ambassador was flooded, Willow Street was flooded, Evangeline Thruway was flooded, University was flooded. If somebody on the north side needed to go to a hospital, we'd have to go to Opelousas.
Thank you. Ms. Amlabar?
So we do need to work to diversify our economy. As part of this campaign, I've had the opportunity to visit with a lot of business leaders, many of you in this room, and I've asked them, about the future of the oil and gas economy, and many are concerned about Lafayette's relative place in that and whether or not we are in the same position to benefit from the next boom. So there's no doubt that we do need to diversify, and many of those leaders have told me that they're expanding themselves into the energy industry. I've met with healthcare executives who think that there is more work we can do to take advantage of the headquarters that we have located here, and companies like LHC Group, Schumacher Group, Acadian Ambulance, and others, to figure out what types of cottage industries and cottage businesses may come from working with those folks, education and health and IT as well. So we have a great opportunity, and I'm fully committed as your mayor president to working with business leaders to bring in additional jobs as well as travel as necessary to help sell Lafayette.
Thank you. Mr. Guillory?
Thank you. Diversify our economy is huge. It goes into those priorities. And remember, if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. Bringing jobs has to be a top priority, and diversify the economy is the way to do that. Now, that's a great canned cliche answer. How do we do it? Make Lafayette inviting. Make it inviting. And we've said, several of our candidates up here today have said that the UDC is not inviting. I'm not saying we have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but we need to revisit every provision in the UDC. I would support repealing and replacing if the council would bring that to my desk. I believe Plan Lafayette is a disaster. I think we do need a master plan, but it is not inviting for the long-term prosperity of our community. And also, and I could talk on Plan Lafayette for way more than 1 minute. We do need a master plan, but I do not support paying a firm outside of the state of Louisiana $1.2 million to develop that plan. And that's what our tax dollars have been spent on in the past. And that kind of frivolous spending will not be present in my administration.
Thank you. Ms. Marcotte?
Thank you. I think that we need to diversify the economy also, but I still think that we have strong manufacturing jobs and technology can be brought into Lafayette by simplifying the Unified Development Code and simplifying the variances required and all of the things that go along with that. Our business people are waiting 3 to 6 months to get a no from a variance, and they're paying $4,000 or whatever the amount may be required to even apply to get that variance. So I think that bringing back the manufacturing and the technology jobs into Lafayette is going to help our economy and help us grow and help us diversify. And we need to do that. We need to bring the jobs back to Lafayette. We have too many people that are commuting.
Thank you, Ms. Marcotte. Ms. Champagne?
Thank you. I do believe that Lafayette Parish has diversified somewhat when it went to the healthcare industry and the IT industry. I also agree that the UDC does not allow us to be very friendly, business friendly. But a lot of times we don't communicate with people. So that's a very large issue. I don't think you should just stamp a denial on a permit and without any communication. So I think by communicating and also encouraging entrepreneurship. Why do people come to Lafayette Parish and Acadiana? It's about the people, it's about the food, it's about the culture. So I say let's be a little more friendly with entrepreneurship and get people started, help people get started up in their businesses by offering them the services we should be offering them in government, to where they feel safe, that they're not gonna flood, that they feel safe in their business and their homes from police and fire, so that they stay here. And I do believe that will drive our economy. So I'm in favor of entrepreneurship with everything else.
Thank you. This next question goes first back to Ms. Carly LaVar. Schools, jobs, and services are particularly important issues for North Lafayette. Currently, North Lafayette has seen multiple supermarket and business closings, leaving the area without critical services. Is there a different agenda for North Lafayette than for South Lafayette? Do you have to be mayor president of the parish, the city, and also the north side? What is your plan for revitalizing the north side and bringing development to that area?
So there's no doubt when you're mayor president, you are president for the whole parish and you are mayor for the whole city of Lafayette. But you also have to understand that the stresses and strains in different parts of the parish are things that you need to be paying attention to, and I will do that as your mayor president. So for instance, right now, the strains in the southern part of the parish are certainly drainage, and definitely on the north side of the parish, you see economic disinvestment as one of the things that is causing great strain and stress on the north side. It's one of the reasons that I fought for the city council, was to be able for the city of Lafayette and the city council to be able to reinvest in the city itself and concentrate and focus energy on the city of Lafayette, which has been disinvested in over time. I think we can work with LEDA on economic development initiatives to help bring jobs back to the north side, and working in neighborhoods, which I've done my entire career, to get the resources to people that need jobs to better North Lafayette will be an absolute priority.
Thank you, Mr. Guillory.
Carly, I think that was very well said as far as the first part, for sure. You're right, we all are. We're running for mayor of Lafayette, but also parish president, and within our parish, there's each region has their own stresses and strains, so I thought that was well said. We need to look at revitalizing the north side in two aspects. long-term, short-term. Long-term, there will be no louder voice than the voice coming out of my mouth, figuratively, for a service road on I-10. If you didn't know you were driving through Lafayette, the 4th largest city in the state, if you didn't know it, you'd pass right through without blinking an eye. Look what the service road did for Scott. Look what the Target did off of I-10 off of Louisiana Avenue. We need a service road along there. We need to connect I-49 South. And also, when I say things like get government out the way, dereg, make it more friendly, I'm not saying that for the south side, east side, west side. I'm saying that for Lafayette Parish. We are one parish, we have one future.
Thank you, Ms. Marcotte.
Thank you. I think that it was well stated also about the beginning part of us being in one parish and one city, that we need to work all areas of Lafayette. With that being said, I do feel like the north side has gotten the short end of the stick, so to speak, and I feel like we need to go ahead and put the I-49 connector in place. So much of the undevelopment or I don't even know what to call it, but there's so many people, the state has bought the land, the most of the land for I-49 connector. We're just waiting on them to decide on a footprint. That's where no development is happening right now, because everybody's waiting on the government, and we need to restore trust in the government.
Thank you, Ms. Marcotte. Ms. Champagne?
Thank you. I believe in treating everyone fairly and equally all across the board. However, there are some areas that may need a little special massaging as I want to speak. But the north side probably is one of those. However, I think to help the north side, what we have to concentrate on and give them opportunities is the education field. I have met with educators. I will put a task force in place where we will actually communicate and work with the school board to make sure that their schools are safe. That's how I'm gonna work with the city police department, making sure that their patrols are on target to make them feel safe every day of the week. So I'm glad about the education component, I really am. I also believe that private sector and people such as Boys and Girls Club, our Pastors Association, I will work diligently with them to help the north side and give them more opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Champagne. Mr. Harvey?
I'm the second oldest of 6 children, and my wife and I have 3. And even though we're all one family, each of our children has a different need, a different strength, and a different weakness. I feel that about Lafayette Parish. We have 7 cities that are in the parish. And if we look at the city of Lafayette, we have a north side and a south side. There's priorities that we've got to attend to, just like the intersection of I-10 and I-49. There's more traffic that goes east and west on I-10, north and south on I-49 at that hub, which is where our nickname comes from, Hub City, than anywhere else in the state of Louisiana. That's the front door to our city, the front door to our parish. It's in disrepair and it needs work, it needs attention. I want to commend the Robideau administration and the ETRT, Evangeline Thruway Redevelopment Team. They came up with a great study, ECI, the Evangeline Corridor Initiative. It lays out projects, catalyst projects, ready to go. We need the investment that we can really fix up that entry to our city.
Thank you, Mr. Harmon. This next question goes first to Mr. Josh Guillory. The Unified Development Code, UDC, has become a hot topic this election cycle. Where do you stand on the UDC, Unified Development Code? What is your view of the effect of regulations on businesses and business development?
I wish we spoke on the UDC recently. That is a hot topic. And if I'd have known you're asking that, I would have maybe held off. No, look, the UDC, it's restrictive. It's too restrictive. No one up here should tell you that we don't need rules. We do need rules and we need regulations. But a strong partnership, between the government, the private sector, and public entity is the key here. And there is, Ms. Champagne mentioned, there is a lack of a dialogue. And you should take things on a case-by-case basis. But the UDC, in a short answer, is too restrictive. I would support repealing and replacing it. I want common sense regulations that are inviting for businesses. I want there to be a big sign out there that says Lafayette is open for businesses, bring us your jobs.
Thank you. Ms. Marcotte?
Thank you. What? The UDC? No, I'm just joking. The Unified Development Code is not a friendly code at all. It is very, very restrictive. It is very much thumbs down, both literally, putting too much pressure on our businesses. I am in favor of jobs. I'm in favor of simplifying the code, and I am in favor of bringing jobs back to Lafayette, high-paying manufacturing jobs and technology jobs, and I have the record of success that's needed to do that. I think our government blocks too many businesses right now, and we need businesses to open back up, because it doesn't matter how much schooling you get if you have to move out of town to use the schooling.
Thank you. Ms. Champagne?
Thank you. Yes, UDC, I think UDC hasn't been in place since until maybe 2014 or 15, so it's fairly new. And I think we have seen over time that one size does not fit all. So yes, we need to look at UDC. We want to make sure we're friendly to do business with. We also need to communicate that. I do know that in Youngsville, we somewhat use UDC, but we have an attitude that when people come to us and they want to build a business or a residential development, this is what I tell them every day when I meet with them. I want to help you do what you want to do with your property within the confines of the laws we have in place. UDC does need to be changed because it's not a one-size-fits-all, but that communication back and forth, understanding what people want to build and why they want to build it, will spark our economy. So yes, my first 30 days, we will be looking, and I'll use people in the industry to look at UDC to tell me what's working and what isn't.
Thank you. Mr. Harvey?
I think parts of the UDC could be streamlined for zoning variances to make it easy for certain types of businesses to locate in neighborhoods where maybe the zoning does not fit. One of the strengths I do see with the UDC is inclusionary housing. I think we can have mixed income development where we're not concentrating all low income in one area, but we're able to get mixed income housing that can really stimulate growth in a certain neighborhood. I would like to see that we use that UDC to develop more community economic development projects.
Thank you. Ms. Onlebar?
So I have a lot to say on the UDC. Many of you may know I ran the planning department for a couple years and was actually responsible for helping get the UDC adopted. So I'll try to give a brief overview, but also would encourage anyone that has any additional questions to ask me. The first thing that people don't realize about the UDC is it repealed rules that were in place that were in many cases conflicting and had been in place and were holding back our community for more than 40 years. It also increased our drainage standards, something that I think we all know need to be done. In this election, we have to be very careful about not using just slogans about creating a development-friendly environment, but actually be specific about it. When I was the planning director, I had regular lunches for the development community, regular communications to them, built a customer service guide, and then regularly worked with the council to amend the UDC when it needed to be amended. I'm proud to have the support of many in the development community. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I could ask, Letitia, do we have time for one more question before closing, or should we go right to closing? Let's go to closing statements. Okay, we'll do closing statements in reverse order, so we start with Mr. Harvey.
I'm honored to be in the running for mayor president for Lafayette Parish. This past Sunday, I celebrated my 20th anniversary as a pastor. I got into the ministry because of a calling. I knew that this was a calling on my life. This is how I got into the race for mayor president. I've worked closely with Mayor Robideau for the last 4 years. Many of the pastors on the north side were very happy with the fact that When we put in a call to City Hall, we were able to get a response and had a vision for how we could improve our community. Mayor Robideau announced he was not running. I felt a fire on the inside to say, don't stand on the sideline and watch. Jump in the game and make a difference. My wife and I have 3 children. My oldest is a senior at UL. Our son, Martin, is in the National Guard, and our youngest, Maya, just graduated from Lafayette High. We want to leave our city and our parish better than when we found it.
Thank you. Ms. Champagne?
Thank you. Thank you for having us today. We really appreciate any time we get to let y'all know what our platforms are and research us. I don't think that this job on January 1st should be a learning experience. I think we need, because we have lots of problems in Lafayette Parish that we need to address immediately. I have the experience, I have the knowledge. I can hit the ground running on January 1st and make sure that your tax dollars are getting taken care of. When I was in banking, we had to be good stewards of your money. Government is the same way. It's your tax dollars, so we have to be good stewards of your tax dollars so we can leave no stone unturned. I'm gonna go back to basics. We're gonna take care of the needs that you're paying those large taxes for, and we will bring back the economy using those efforts. I'm Simone Champagne. I've been married for 48 years to my husband Gary. We have 5 beautiful children, 5 grandchildren, with 2 more due at the end of the year, and this afternoon I'll find out what one of them's gonna be.
Thank you. Ms. Martin?
Congratulations. Okay, so I am not a politician, but I plan on using my 36 years of entrepreneurship, leadership, and job creator to help Lafayette create jobs. We need to have our priorities straight, and my priorities are to rebuild an infrastructure that works. That includes drainage and roads, restore our faith in government, and I plan to implement the Louisiana checkbook that allows taxpayers the opportunity to see exactly how your money is being spent, and empower entrepreneurs and bring back the high-paying jobs. And so what I'd like everyone to know about me is I am a doer, and I will get the job done. I plan to get things done. So I ask for your vote on October 12th.
Thank you, Ms. Martin.
And again, thank you, Dr. Cross, the Kiwanis Club, and everybody for joining us today. You're going to hear a lot about experience, and you should. Everybody brings to the table their own experience. I'm here to tell you, I have very minimal experience in the government. The only time I have experience in the government is paying taxes and serving in the Army. And thank God for that, because that's what we need. We need a fresh breath in Lafayette Consolidated Government. And if we think about it, just not too long ago in 2016, if we would have went with the most governmental experience candidate for the presidential election, you would not have President Donald J. Trump. I'm just telling you. I don't know everything, I promise you that. I don't know more than I do know. But I know what leadership is. I know what managerial experience is. I've led a business the last 8 years. I've led men in combat. I am ready to make hard decisions in difficult times, and I'm ready to lead this city and this parish on day one, and I am eager to do that, and I humbly ask for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Guillory. Ms. Onlevar?
Thank you again to everyone for coming and for listening today, and of course to the Kiwanis Club. You know, we've had a lot of talk today about the financial strains on our community. We've had a lot of talk today about the charter transition, about the tactics we're going to use to improve our drainage situation, about our economy, about our regulatory environment, and we have a lot of work to do. But I will tell you something one of the auditors told me one time while I was working at LCG. They said, look, Lafayette has the most complicated government in the state of Louisiana. Between LUS and the consolidated form of government, the government that we have, we need a leader in that office that has worked in Lafayette Consolidated Government. I'm ready to go to work for you on day one. I have experience on the issues facing our community, and I'm ready to make a change. I humbly ask for your vote on October 12th. Carly Onlevar. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Well, on behalf of Kiwanis Lafayette, thanks to all of you candidates. Good luck in the upcoming election. Also, let's give a hand to Dr. Cross.